It is right around 1:20 a.m. on what is now Saturday, April 19th, 2025. I am wiped out. I worked a full day today. I've been up since 5:30 a.m. I really need to sleep. And I'm lying on my bed, flat on my back because I have back problems. I need to sleep flat. And as I keep reporting, when I lie on my bed facing the ceiling, someone either in 78 and or in 76 starts getting really disruptive, slamming and banging things around either in the bathroom of 78 or in 76. And then they start using this same directed energy device that I keep saying that they're using and have been using for years to electronically assault me based on 3 or 4 very specific things that I do in the privacy of this living space. None of the things that I do are weird. They're routine personal care, hygiene things. But the sex offender psycho trash that the Greenville Group's Oleg Eliseyev has deliberately placed in the adjacent units to mine over the last few years seem to have moment by moment knowledge of everything that I do in here, even in the middle of the night when I'm trying to sleep. I mean, I received multiple phone calls from someone who sounded exactly like the sex offender Jason DaCosta in 88 over the last few months, claiming that he watches me when I sleep and that he wants to murder me. I have a recording of that voicemail. And I showed it to the police and worked with one of the detectives about the fact that this caller was deliberately masking his phone number, but had a voice that sounded exactly like the voice of the sex offender next door, who kept telling me that he watched me when I sleep. The detective said that the Boston police is not equipped to investigate surveillance devices. Like, what? So what do you do? Right? The Boston police do not have the resources or capacity to investigate surveillance devices. So again, what do? Nothing? What crimes can they investigate if they can't investigate anything as basic as surveillance devices? Wow. That's embarrassing. I guess they stopped investigating crimes at shootings and stabbings. We might as well be in the 1800s because knives and guns have been around for 500 years. Let's see, the first firearm was invented in the very early 1500s, I believe. And knives have been around since forever. So literally the Boston police are stuck in the Middle Ages with their investigative capacity. I don't know if that's a taxpayer problem or a stupid wokeness problem. It could be both. Anyway, I'm getting literally electronically assaulted while I'm lying here trying to sleep by somebody who is making slamming and banging noises directly below my bed in 76. I keep accurately observing that the behavior of the psycho thug directly below me in 76 is very close to the behavior of the sex offender, psycho trash, pedophile scum, Jasmine Irizarry in the bathroom of 78. I am very, very discerning when it comes to observing, analyzing, and correctly diagnosing people's behavioral issues. I spent 5.5 years in a full-time PhD program for clinical psychology. I took an entire year of psychological diagnosis assessment. It was basically memorizing the entire DSM. I got an A+ in that class, both semesters. So don't fuck with me and tell me that Jasmine Irizarry is not physically in this building. She absolutely is. That psycho trash piece of filth, the perving, creeping, obsessive hate stalker who can't leave people alone and spends her rejected, wasted life hate stalking people who think that she's a disgusting piece of shit, refuses to leave me alone and has refused to leave me alone almost since the moment she moved in 2013. I didn't really notice anything weird or unusual until 2015 when her behavior started getting more aggressive and malignant and more deliberate. Up until that point, I just chalked everything up to, a coincidence, right? Like, oh, it's a weird coincidence. She's always in her bathroom. Whatever. Maybe she's plucking her eyebrows, or maybe she's whatever, clipping her toenails. I don't know. But then it started getting increasingly abnormal. And then you're like, wait a second, this is just weird, right? And then when something is weird and it happens all the time, it's a pattern, and a pattern is not a coincidence, right? So right now, lying on my bed, flat on my back, there's a psycho piece of shit directly below 76, repeatedly slamming things below my bed at the same time that I'm getting electronically assaulted when I flip over on my back and face the ceiling. Not a coincidence, folks. I think that the person who keeps accessing the intermittently vacant and mostly unrented premises of the bathroom of 78 behind my kitchen sink is also the same psycho who likes to make slamming and banging noises directly below my bed at the same time that they electronically assault me with the same directed energy weapon that they themselves have claimed on social media and written comments that they are using. It's the same person. No two psychopaths have the same behavioral thumbprint. And Irizarry is a disgusting mixture of a whole bunch of psycho filth, scum, dysfunction. I am absolutely not knocking people who have mental health issues. I love the people I work with. They are awesome. They are trying valiantly to get better. They are trying valiantly to improve their situation. They understand what they need to do to get better. They want to get better. A lot of them had functional lives, and they want to get back to that. I am not referring to the people that I work with. Again, they're awesome, and most of them are quite intelligent. Irizarry is on a whole other level of disgusting filthness because she deliberately goes after people who don't have anything to do with her and have never done anything to her simply because she is jealous and miserable and a psychopath. I have no sympathy for psychopaths, and I'm going to say this right now. They should do the planet a favor and jump off a bridge. People like Jeffrey Dahmer, serial killer who ate people, had no problem doing that. People like Ted Bundy, who put up a really good pretense of being normal because he was an attorney and was working with local police departments to help rape victims by writing anti-rape pamphlets, killed over a dozen women who he raped before killing. Jasmine Irizarry is a homicidal psychopath. That is a clinical fact. I worked at the Shattuck Hospital at the exact same time that she was a patient there in 2006. I almost said 2016. No, in 2006, when I was still in my PhD program and was doing a neuropsych rotation at the Shattuck Hospital as a practicum student. And some of my PhD program colleagues were on the team that were treating Jasmine Irizarry. And even back then, she was trying to kill people. Not with knives and guns. There are many ways to kill people, and her way of trying to kill people is to contaminate them. Now she's graduated from contamination, which she's still doing, and I have to tape all up my fridge and tie up all my food in bags that I then hang from the ceiling, and that seems to solve the problem. She has graduated from trying to contaminate all my food and not being able to because I tape everything up, to now using a directed energy weapon. And here is the point that I'm trying to make with this video. I'm kind of tired. The police department, the E13, right around the corner, tell me that directed energy weapons don't exist. Yeah. According to them, there's no such thing as directed energy weapons. That's weird because if you Google directed energy weapons, you get all kinds of results that are consistent and accurate about who and what is using and has access to directed energy weapons in the United States. And guess who has directed energy weapons in the US? Law enforcement. Huh. So does Irizarry, the pedophile psycho pig, work for law enforcement? No. I think that she is doing exactly what she claims she's doing, which is working as a hate-stalking BLM, quote, activist. It's really just a perving, creeping sex offender. But That does not prevent the possibility that the local police department have placed a directed energy weapon into her hands. Whoa, I think I'm onto something. Why? Because the police have repeatedly tried to gaslight my concerns about the use of a directed energy weapon by the BLM activists in this building as if it's something that's completely impossible. But the BLM activists themselves have admitted in writing to the fact that they're using a directed energy weapon to electronically assault me, bragging that they have it set up on a tripod. It's set up in their living room. Yeah, you don't have a living room in this building, you fucking idiots. You're sitting in a fucking bathroom, you nut job. So who's lying? BLM or the E13? Right? I'm betting, I'm putting my money on the stupid criminals because they're stupid. And so they like to brag about their activities, possibly thinking that their activities are legal and legitimate if law enforcement said it's okay and handed them a few party favors that they can play with, such as a directed energy device. Right? The other possibility is that Jasmine Irizarry, claiming to be an IT expert and a structural engineer, made her own directed energy device, right? You can do that. There's actually instructions on Google on how to make your own directed energy weapon by going to Home Depot and buying like metal or aluminum cylinders and a few other basic pieces of electronic equipment. So who's lying? The E13 station who keep telling me directed energy weapons don't exist? Or the BLM activists who make nasty comments on my videos claiming that they are using a directed energy weapon and bragging that that's what they're using to aim at my head? Who's lying? I think the E13 is lying. They're much more capable of subterfuge and deception and gaslighting than the stupid criminals into whose hands they could possibly be placing some very dangerous weapons that are being used on American citizens who do not conform to what the law enforcement seem to think is acceptable in terms of thoughts, ideologies, even ethnicity, right? They think that I'm a white supremacist because of my German last name. Because Woods is a very German last name, extremely ethnic German. And being, the Boston police who have let, I don't know, like over 24 violent, dangerous, illegal criminals out into the community, have refused to arrest them because they are illegals and they're here illegally, then the Boston Police Department is really not a police department. It is an activist group. So then all hell breaks loose, right? If the police are acting in an activistic capacity against its own tax-paying citizens, law-abiding tax-paying citizens, then we have a serious problem on our hands. Not only is the Greenville group criminally corrupt in using surveillance devices in my living space to dox my personal activities and hygiene practices to the BLM pedophile sex offender trash that they cram in large numbers in this building complex, according to the Massachusetts Sex Offender Registry. But the Boston police are a criminal group in themselves by ignoring the laws of the federal United States government when it comes to immigration status. Right? You do not have the right to illegally enter this country, and you do not have the right to illegally enter any country. That's why it's called illegal. There are thousands of people who come here legally who are very welcome in this country, but gang members from El Salvador who rape children and kill people are being let go by the Boston Police Department by the dozens. And that's according to the ICE records of recent arrests. And therefore, all bets are off. If the Boston Police Department, that is no longer a police department, but a criminal activist organization, just like BLM, is allowing violent sex offender, child raping gang members from El Salvador and other South American countries that specialize in the exportation of gang members if the Boston police are letting these people back out onto the street after they've been accused of violent crimes and convicted and then let go, then anything is possible, including the police placing a highly dangerous directed energy device into the hands of a sex offender, psychopath like Jasmine Irizarry in an activistic capacity. So if this is what is happening, which is entirely possible, given that the police at the E13 keep telling me that what I am reporting to them is physically impossible when it's not just physically possible, but commonly practiced, then the police are the problem. And the source of the problem is the police. They're allowing this to happen, enabling it, and actually, like, literally arming it. And as I'm lying here talking about this, I'm getting blasted by the directed energy device that I am talking about, that I am theorizing could possibly have been provided to these sex offenders by the Boston police, who keep telling me that directed energy weapons don't exist. Why don't you just Google it, you fucking retards? How stupid are you? Do they not know that Google exists and that if they're going to make up stories about directed energy weapons not being in existence, anybody with half a brain can Google it and see that they do? Are they really that dumb? Well, that's embarrassing and that's just sad, but it's also very helpful to me because now I can do a mic drop. I don't even need to prove my case. All I need to show is that the Boston police have repeatedly told me directed energy weapons don't exist when obviously they do. And they have been admitted to being used by the BLM psycho trash sex offender scum that the police and the Greenville group keep praising and defending and stalking, I mean, like cramming in large numbers into this building complex, and whose crimes the police have repeatedly and deliberately ignored. Case closed.